Xin kính chào các bạn and chúc mừng năm mới. Hello there, everyone, all my friends, and Happy New Year. My name is Philip Nguyen, and I teach Asian American Studies at San Francisco State University and at UC Berkeley. I'm also the president of the Union of North American Vietnamese Student Associations, or UNAFSA, and a part of the United Vietnamese Student Associations of Northern California, or NorCal UVSA. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the story of the legend of Chưng and Bánh Dầy, retold by Trần Thị Minh Phước from the book Vietnamese Children's Favorite Stories, illustrated by Nguyễn Thị Hợp and Nguyễn Đông, with the Vietnamese folk song Chân Đất Dòng, arranged by Lê Văn Khoa. The legend of Chưng and Bánh Dầy. In his old age, King Hùng Vương VI, a mighty and brave warrior, decided one day to choose a successor. He thought to himself, "It won't be easy to choose amongst my 22 sons. I must be very careful in choosing the one who will rule after me." The king was right. Just like their father, the princes were strong warriors, wise ambassadors, and ambitious adventurers. However, Prince Tịch Liêu, the 18th son, was not interested in hunting or in practicing martial arts like his brothers. Instead, he spent his time reading books and taking walks in the imperial court. The bonsai garden was the prince's favorite spot, and he could spend hours and hours pruning the miniature plants. One day, he asked the king to allow him to move with his wife and children to his mother's old village, where he could live the simple, humble life that suited him. Toward the end of the year, everyone began preparing traditional dishes to celebrate Tết. The royal court planned several ritual ceremonies to pay homage to the ancestors. Suddenly, the king had an idea for discovering who would be worthiest of the throne. He summoned all the princes and announced, "In 3 days, whoever brings the best dish to offer our ancestors for the new year will be my successor." The princes set out in the quest for rare and exotic foods. The oldest prince climbed up to the top of the mountain and navigated through dark caves to harvest the swallows' nests. Some of the other princes went deep into the jungle for rare mushrooms and herbs, or deep down into the sea to seek out abalone and choice seafood from amongst the reef beds. Others sought advice for the best recipes. On his way home, Prince Tịch Liêu felt sad because he couldn't travel far like his brothers. As he walked across the rice fields, the fresh and relaxing aroma of the rice and the heartfelt laughter of the farmers lessened his grief. Suddenly, a thought came to him. Rice! This precious grain feeds us all, from the richest of us to the poorest. My dish should be prepared from this. And the prince rushed back home, full of excitement. That night, as he slept, the prince dreamt of a fairy who showed him how to prepare the wonderful dish to offer to the ancestors. You don't need to go far. Use your own hands, mind, and heart, and food harvested from your own lands to make the rice cakes. You will rule the kingdom peacefully and gloriously, the fairy said. Thank you, the prince cried. I will never forget your great advice and kindness. At dawn, the prince was awakened by the roosters crowing. Quickly, he woke his wife and shared his dream. Together, they went outside, looked up at the open sky, and thanked the fairy for her blessings. We don't have much time, said the prince. Let's make square and round rice cakes to offer to our ancestors. While his wife ground the sweet rice and prepared the meat, the prince went to the field and cut young leaves to use as cake wrappers. Their children washed and soaked the mung beans. After long hours of cooking, the whole family was happy to have beautiful cakes. They called them Chưng and Bánh Dầy. On New Year's Eve, all the princes rushed back to the kingdom with exquisite and rare dishes. The king eagerly tasted every single dish and learned its meaning. Nothing tasted good to him. Then he noticed the square, green, and round white cakes from Prince Tịch Liêu, which he had never before seen or tasted, at the far end of the table. How did you come up with this dish? Asked the king. The prince told the king about his dream and explained, the green young leaves and bamboo strings wrapping the cakes represent the protection and safety of family and home. The yellow mung beans and marinated meat stuffing represent the animals and plants on the earth and the food they provide for all. The square Bánh Dâng is our mother, the earth, and the round white Bánh Dầy is the heaven sky. The king tasted both cakes and found them delicious, savory, and meaningful. And so, greatly contented, he joyfully proclaimed Prince Thích Liu's successor to the throne, and he declared that from that day on, the Bánh Chưng and Bánh Dầy would be the traditional food offered to the ancestors during Tết. As the first Vietnamese librarian in Minnesota, a respected storyteller, a 2016 and 2019 Minnesota State Fair Blue Ribbon author, and an award-winning author, Trần Thị Minh Phước has shared her experiences and knowledge of Vietnamese culture at various cultural events, storytelling programs, conferences, libraries, universities, colleges, and schools throughout the state and beyond. In addition, she has dedicated her time to helping new immigrants transition into life in America. Her work has inspired others to also pursue their dreams and a good education. Phước Chưng and her husband, Philip Nguyen, are the proud parents of their 4 children who grew up in a bilingual home. For everyone watching today, I'd like to welcome cô Phước to join us today for a conversation. Dạ, chúc mừng năm mới, cô Phước.
Chúc mừng năm mới. Chào các bạn. Hello friends. Chúc mừng năm mới Philip. Khỏe không?
Dạ, con khỏe. Cô khỏe không?
Good, good. I love your reading.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Go. And you know, it's extra festive because this year we're celebrating the year of the ox, right? So I try to read it as steady as possible.
Yeah. For the Vietnamese, we call the year of the water buffalo. Do you know why?
Why? Because why do we call it the year?
Yes. Vietnamese zodiac is a little bit different from the Chinese zodiacs. And we talk about the water buffalo because the water buffalo is very close to, like the earth, to our culture. Vietnam is the agricultural, country. When we talk about Vietnam, we talk about water buffalo, the farmers, the rice field. That's why, water buffalo is the, one of the animal in the zodiacs. And if you want to hear a little bit about the story of the water buffalo, why he was sent on earth, you know what? I will tell you. Before, once, the water buffalo was an officer, taking care of agriculture in the heaven. He very close with the Jet Emperor. Mm-hmm. But, the Jet Emperor always loved, human being, want them to have happiness, always, like a peace, harmony. So he asked, his officer to give some rice, to human being. Yeah. He said, here, a handful of rice. You should plant first. And when you go to earth, and another handful of grass, you need to, plant after. Because, he was so happy, distracted. He actually dropped the handful of grass first. And later on, only half, full of the rice. What happened? More grass growing up. And human beings didn't have enough rice. So that's why the Jet Emperor was so angry and upset. He sent him, on earth in the form of the buffalo, so he can eat all the grass and helping, the people to do the harvest. That's why it's the water buffalo. That's why, very close to us. So hear the stories.
Thank you so much, Go Phước. I mean, I know that it's really important to sort of delineate, right, between how Vietnamese culture and customs are so particular and different, right? Because the water buffalo becomes so entrenched, I think, in how it's become significant in our culture. Another theme that I think comes up from the reading and both the story that you just shared too is, there's this common theme of reaching up to the ancestors for help, right? And the ancestors providing the kind of food and rice and water and grass and grain that give us sustenance and allow us to live fruitful lives, right?
Yes, correct. That's why, today is the 12th day of the Tết. So that's why cô Phước, before, coming to join you, I did, make, a wonderful, delicious, like a send off meal to our ancestors, send them back to, the heaven, you know, like many other, Vietnamese family. The New Year's, like a New Year's Eve, we invite our parents, our ancestors back to home, so to join us, to protect us. But on the 12th day of the, New Year, we send them back home. So, yeah.
And I think that's called a cúng, right? Go.
Yeah. Đưa ông bà, send
Đưa
off
ông
đưa
bà.
ông bà, đưa ông bà. But when you, invite them, we say rước ông bà,
Oh,
rước
so
ông
you
bà.
gotta
Yeah. Do,
welcome them and then you let them
yes.
go.
Yes. And when we were in Vietnam, people have, you buy votive paper or house or money, to burn it and send them, like give them something to bring home, in the heaven. But here most people don't do anymore. So
I actually, my parents, a couple of things my parents shared with me. I mean, a couple anecdotes, right? Is that in preparation for our conversation, I asked them, what are some things that we're supposed to do during Tet and things that we aren't supposed to do, right? And they kind of reiterated this idea of like being dang huang, right? So like putting on your nice new clothes, wearing red, making sure the fortune comes, and then also I think just to for the folks that might not know, like this the burning of like the ritual paper, right? And that ceremony, I think there's like a fake iPhone that my parents are burning so that my ông bà up there, can have some 5G cell service, right? So
yes, you are right. They have the mentions, the iPhone, computer now, everything. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us here today, Ko Phuc, and thank you so much for writing Vietnamese children's favorite stories and for sharing your experience for us here. For all the folks watching, I'm sure they want to know so much more about your experience. A lot of folks are probably wondering about, we've been in a pandemic through 2020. They're living away from home. They feel more disconnected from their families than ever. So I'm sure that this conversation will be something that helps them remind them of their families, right? And of what that feels like. And I see you're also wearing your áo dài today, Go. So
Yes, and hoa mai, the mai flowers.
yes.
Yes, to bring you good luck, happiness, prosperity, and harmony. Now, remember, I told you to to make some firecrackers. Do you bring something?
I did. I came prepared. I did my homework, Go.
Yeah. You know what? Before we start, we can talk about making noise on during the New Year, because making noise, like gong, beat the gongs or firecrackers is the best way to invite or to create the New Year and chase evil spirit away. So that's why we can start our program with making noise. Can you do it?
Ready?
Yeah, one, two, three.
Ooh. So here the lion dance is going on, right? The beat of the drum outside.
Yes.
There's all of these different customs and traditions about how to bring in luck, but also how to keep the luck that you have, right? I know that I'm not supposed to shower on the first day of Tet, right? Or like sweep my house, and I know that's a story in your book too.
Yes, yes. In the story in the book, why we shouldn't sweep, on the New Year, because the broom is considered like a human being. If you read the story, we never lie down, the broom, always stand up. And I remember when in Vietnam, every a year on this day, the 12th day of the New Year, my mom always remind all of us to hide the broom. You know why?
Why?
Because the Thursday is people believe it. The bad people, the burglar, start the business, because
I
people
see.
enjoy the 3 days. They're so tired. So if we need to hide, because if they come to any people's house, if they see the broom, that's mean good luck for them for the whole year. So we try to hide it. Just a superstitions. But this is
Yeah.
fun, to remember, and tell to your kids, about it.
Right. And I mean, this in a lot of the superstitions that we know and that I think become embedded in Vietnamese youth growing up. a lot of the superstitions have different morals or different lessons that they teach to the children, right? And for your book, Vietnamese Children's Favorite Stories, you also in the introduction talk about these five virtues, right, that kind of tie each of the stories together.
And you know what? Before I say this one, but the about the ancestor, we always remember of our ancestor. We consider them like living with us, in the same house. Yes, other day he in the heaven, then in heaven, but we invite them back to earth. And we talk about nhân, lễ, nghĩa, trí, tín. So you say the five virtue, and in my stories we talk about a lot about this one. And the good things about when you mention this one, if you read every single story, you can see why I select, why I have the New Year, story first. And after, I have some story about the history, Lê Lợi and the magic sword, or Thánh Giống. And later on, I have some myth, like why ducks shouldn't, why ducks sleep on one leg, or so a lot of story in there, or Tam and Cam, Vietnamese Cinderella. Oh, the people love it. The kids love it, this one. And later on, I have the story about the Trung Thu, the Mid-Autumn Festival. So
Right.
in my book, even I gear for, the young kids, like 4 to, 8 years old. But, a lot of adults, actually parents, read it to the kids. So it's good, I want my book like Hong Kong buffet, right? Or
Right.
buffet or something, and you eat. And in my book, we have everything.
Oh my gosh, go! I'm getting super hungry. And during that we eat so much, right? I think food is so important as a part of the culture. We show our love through food. Um, the first story, the one that we just read, was the first story in your book, and it's about Bánh Dầy, right? So, I mean, before we get to talking about food, how can you talk a little bit about the order of the stories? I know you talked about how many types there are, but why start with this one about that?
Yeah, good questions. Before I start, I will tell you something. In Vietnam, people don't say celebrate Tết, but they say ăn Tết, right? That means eat Tết. Or when if you meet someone, the first thing they ask you, ăn cơm chưa, right? You tell them, ăn cơm chưa? Have you eating rice yet? Ăn cơm chưa? So food, everything rice, food, like always start, in any conversations. So in my book, I like I just said the orders. I have um legend of the Bánh Dày, Bánh Chưng. Why I did it? Why I choose the 4 that story at the beginning
Right.
of my book? Because every year I got a lot of inquiry from school, from parents. They ask about the new year. They have so many superstition, so many things we need to know. Especially for the kid adult from Vietnam, they want to keep the culture, right? So for me, I'm thinking, yes, maybe the legend of Bánh Dày, Bánh Chưng, is the first one I want to put in there, because grandparents and parents, the elders always knows these stories. So if the kid ask them, you know um, they may know. But the good thing about the book, even in English, but later on they can do the reading together.
Right. Right.
Grandma says something in Vietnamese, and the kid catch up something and say, oh yeah, I know what it's about. Even my kid, they learn the tradition, the culture through these folk tales.
Yeah,
Yep.
for
And the
sure.
next, I think, yep. And let me see the next story in my book. Let me have my book right here. And I have yep. And I have the legends of the my flowers.
Yes.
There would be no Tết or Tết Nguyên Đán without the my flowers to bring you good luck, happiness, prosperity, and harmony. And you know what? A lot of people, you know, have a Tết in the house every year. But here we don't have the my flowers. People use the focaccia, the flowers. It's like a substitute, the yellow, you know.
Yes.
Let's say forsythia or something. I don't know. I should be a read. But again, you know, but many people say, wow, we should know why we use the my flowers, but not other flowers, you know, during the New Year.
Right.
And the next one, you know, I choose, you know, like, oh, no, sorry. The second story is the
Is the
my auntie,
watermelon seeds.
the
Yes.
watermelon seed. Yes, the watermelon seed is very important. I will tell you, because why? Every people in the house, even here in America or in the world, for New Year, for sure in your house you have the watermelon, bánh dày, bánh chưng, cây tắc. So the basic one, or the 5 food tray, cầu dừa đủ xài. Okay?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, you know. So you want to cut the watermelon in half with the red colors, you know, bright color, you know, for good fortune, for everything. So again, people say, why we have watermelon? So the story which explain to you more, you know, again, in this story, we talk about the gratitude, you know, the nhân lễ nghĩa chữ tín include in there as well.
Right.
So the next one, I take like the my flowers. And the last one, like we talked before, like why one shouldn't, you know, sweep the house
Sweep the
during
house,
the New Year.
yeah. Right.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
And so as we're talking about, I mean, the different traditions, as we're also talking about the different foods, right? I know that one of the things that I like really didn't like growing up was eating so much gan khổ qua, right? And you know, and as much as I love eating the sweet glutinous rice cake that is a bánh chưng and sometimes a bánh tét, right? And I remember dipping it into either sugar or the đậu chua, right? Go. But something about the gan khổ qua. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you know, gan khổ qua, khổ. That means, you know, like the bad luck, everything, you know, like a sufferance or something. Khổ qua, that means you overcome everything. You know, every house to have gan khổ qua, you know, in the house, you know, so the soup. Yep. And you know what? In my family, we try not to eat, even, you know, not on the New Year, we love lobsters, but we don't eat lobsters or crab during the New Year. You know why?
Why?
Because they move backward.
Oh, you know, I see. So even though they're red.
Yes, they're red, but you don't want to move backward, so we want, you know, forward. But the things about this one, like for us, you know, we eat chicken, right? But we don't eat duck on the New Year because people say sui, bad luck. But different from the Chinese tradition, they eat duck during the New Year, but not us.
I see. Ooh, so more cultural differences.
More cultural. Yes. Yep. Yep.
I mean, there are a lot of I was gonna ask. I mean, there are a lot of cultural differences between the Ba Ming or the 3 regions of Vietnam too, right, Go?
Đúng rồi. Yes. You know, like you know, actually the bánh chưng for people from the north, you know, and in the south we eat bánh tét. In the central, they have the same shape but they're longer, you know. Yep. But you know, now in the family, like I know my husband from the north, so we eat bánh chưng and we have bánh tét, you know. So
right.
Yep.
So now it's whatever button you can find at the store, right?
Yes. Yeah. And you know, not only you know food, but the fruit or the flowers. You know, the flowers very important. You know, in during the New Year.
Right.
You know, we have especially the kumquat or you know, like cây tắc.
Yeah.
Yep. So every year my sister, you know, send, you know, kumquat from California to here for us because, you know, we want to put in the house, you know, is, you know, bring your own way the happiness, prosperity, and fortune.
I know at the beginning of the pandemic too, a lot of my family members were saying that if you have a little bit of gung and nước tắc, it might be able to help you a lot, you know, if you're feeling some of the symptoms. So
yes, you have to soothe your throat, right?
Right. Yes. And no one wants to be sick on the first day of the new year on Tet because that means, that means that you're going to be sick for the rest of the year too, right?
Yes, you're very good, Philip. You know everything. I bet you're very good. Yeah. And the kid, don't cry and whine and during the new year, the whole year should be bad. Mhm.
Right. I've also got to watch my language during the first couple days of the year too, because sometimes I'm with my friends and, not so nice words come out. So I got to make sure that only nice words come out so that it follows me for the rest of the year and I keep my fortune, right?
Good, good. Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I know that a lot of us, I mean, especially us that grew up with that and are in the second generation, the children of, immigrants, refugees that came here from Vietnam, right? Um, we remember all of these different lời chúc, right? Or the different greetings that one would say to their elders, right? Because I think that is a lot about, I mean, it's worshiping the ancestors, but it's also worshiping or paying homage and respect to those who came before us, right?
Right, correct.
So I have a couple for you, Go, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, Gong Gunjuk Go. And maybe we can get a little bit deeper into what each of them mean, but Philip xin kính chúc cô một năm mới làm ăn phát tài, sức khỏe dồi dào, vạn sự như ý, sống lâu hơn 100 tuổi cô.
Good quá. Bây giờ Philip có thể là dịch ra in English không cho mấy người mà audience á, họ hiểu Philip chúc cô Phước cái gì.
Right.
Hay
Yeah.
quá. Cảm ơn Philip nhiều.
Yeah. Okay. So let me try and translate for y'all and Go Fook. Make sure that it's on point. But what I kinchuk or what I wished for Go Fook for the new year was La Man Phak Dai, which means wishing her much prosperity, right, and fortune in her work. Sức khỏe dồi dào, which is, we oftentimes hear this phrase in Vietnamese, sức khỏe là vàng, and it really means wishing her good health, right? Yang sự như ý, which means may all your wishes come true. And the last one that I added for a little bit of fun, because something about when I do that one in my own family, people laugh, is that sống lâu hơn 100 tuổi, which means I wish you good health and to live beyond 100 years, right? Which is the average age of the person.
I love it, Philip. Very nice. Yeah, I wish life more than 100 years, right?
Right.
And my kid
I
and my
mean, like
family
you
will
said,
love
right?
it.
We live on with our families, beyond the time that we pass. So
Yes. I have an idea now. I love your, TED greetings. Why don't we teach the audience some of, our, TED greetings, but we need to speak slowly in Vietnamese, okay?
let's do it.
We tell them the meaning first, like a Happy New Year. And we have two ways to say Happy New Year, remember? Cùng chúc Tân Xuân and chúc mừng năm mới. Okay, now you should say, or I should say slowly, and we tell them repeat after us, okay?
Got it.
Yep. Say the
Okay,
whole
so
sentence first.
the first one that we'll show you all, and hopefully that you'll repeat after us when you're watching this, right, with us, is chúc mừng năm mới.
Chúc mừng năm mới. Chúc mừng năm mới.
Right? And then the second way to say Happy New Year is cùng chúc Tân Xuân.
Yeah. Cùng chúc Tân Xuân. Cùng chúc Tân Xuân.
Right. So chúc mừng năm mới, cùng chúc Tân Xuân.
Very good.
We're able to have this conversation with you today, Go, because we wanted to make sure that I know for myself, one of my biggest fears is to lose my corners, or in Vietnamese, mất góc, right? Translated literally. So like being able to have these kinds of conversations to really remind us of where we come from, to help us practice our heritage, even when we're far away from our parents or from the homes that we grew up in. They're so important for us living in the diaspora and living in the second and third generation, right? And we want to be able to pass on the language and also pass on the culture and the histories that we're able to learn to our children, right? So that it doesn't get lost somewhere along the way. And so, Go, I know I'm sure you spent so much time writing this Vietnamese children's favorite stories book, but could you tell us a little bit about any upcoming projects you have, where we can find you? Anything else that you want to share with our audience before we close on out?
You can go my next book come out, supposed to be in March, but because of, some delay, should be on May 9th. And it's called All About Vietnam. It should be wonderful to have the stories, the songs, the game, and everything in there. So, you can go buy, book at my, publisher, the publishing website,
Mhm.
or any bookstore in America or in the world. So not because they're selling book everywhere, or
Mhm.
Amazon, or you can go to my website. You can, see more project or more, work.
On oacc.cc, OACC's website, there are a bunch of activities that you can share with your loved ones of all ages that were created by Go Phuc and her publishers too of the book Vietnamese Children's Favorite Stories. So make sure y'all go check them out. You can also learn more about Go Phuc and her upcoming work all about Vietnam on OACC's website. We'll have a link there. And with that, I think, thank you so much, Go Phuc, for being a part of this conversation today. Thank you so much for reminding us of all the things that Bánh Chưng and Bánh Dày remind us of, right? Our food, our home, the way that we express love and affection to each other, and how we share this wonderful heritage and culture of being Vietnamese. So thank you so much, Go Phuc.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, today, on the New Year, the Thursday of the New Year, right? Mùng Ba Tết. This is fun, right? And I just remind all of you, be sure when you read the story, remember to retell the story, because telling the story is a treasure. To keep pass on from one generation to another one. And before I end, before ending our conversations, I just tell you, in Vietnamese, the word chào both mean hello and goodbye. So cô Phước sẽ say, chào các bạn, goodbye friends, goodbye Philip.
Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into this conversation with me, Philip Nguyen, and Go Phuc today with OACC. Be sure to check out oacc.cc for all the downloadable activities that you can share with your friends and family after this conversation. Stay tuned for the next Vietnamese Lunar New Year program on how to make bánh tét with Chef Hai and Joe from Eating Saigon. Chúc mừng năm mới.